Hey, welcome back to Jamieson's Repair Shop. Finally, getting back on the old 65 Thunderbird Convertible. You may hear something kicking in the background. That's my air dryer, and I'm going to go over that here in a second. Some of the things I've done to get set up in the shop to get back on this Thunderbird. I was starting to lose faith. I had about as much faith as Nick had in me at Vintage Thunderbird Repair whether I'd get back on this year at all. But here I am. I'm going to pick up where I left off. If you don't know where I left off, go back to my last video in that playlist, and we were working on the front right-hand torque box. So that's what we'll be doing now, is rebuilding that front torque box. It's been all taken apart, as you'll see in the video, and that's where that playlist stopped, and I went on to other things. But today is the day we're getting back on it. It's been a journey to get here. I'm going to grab the camera and I'm going to go through a few of the things that I wanted to get done before I started back on the old 65 convertible. All right, one of the things I wanted to get done, and it was partially for this laser that my wife picked up through the summer. That's her setup here. Was this Sol air dryer, and I had it before she bought the laser. The intent was to dry the air, so it's all hooked up now. It just kicked in again, and my wife uses it as well for her. She added an air assist to her laser, so she needed dry air as well, and I needed dry air through these lines that I put in. So I have the air hooked up the way I wanted it. It's not complete, but it's enough to get me going. Also, I temporarily set up a fire blanket to separate myself from my wife's setup. I have some parts coming. I'm going to make this better. This is just on a ladder right now. It's just holding that blanket up. I've got the plasma cutter out, and I got a piece of steel, and I got a part for the for that torque box. And over here, it's a little bit cluttered again because, you know, it's a flat surface, so why not fill it up with stuff? So over here was that vent duct I was going to build, and I have it built. Still need some wiring tied up here for the lights, but this works, and we were going to use it just as a vent fan, but we decided that my wife's doing a lot of painting now, so we thought, well, we'd use this station here as a paint booth area. It's nice to have that aerosol captured and filtered and then the air sent outside. This is pretty quiet. Excuse me. I had to remove my hoists for now, but I'll find a spot to put those back in. There's the old Thunderbird. Also, I built that during the summer, and that will be on all the time while I'm, well, unless I'm videoing, but while I'm working, it'll be on all the time. And that is another other fan on the front of it. It's a little noisier, but it actually pulls a lot. It pulls a lot of air out. It circulates quite a lot of air. I had it, I guess, in the summer. I built it, midsummer, I suppose, and I changed the filters yesterday. And I didn't change the end one. It needs to be changed, but I couldn't get one actually, 20 by 20. For a decent price, but these ones here were on sale. There's 6 of them, 24 by 20s, and that works great. So it's doing its job. So I'll be relying on that quite a bit. And you can see that I painted and we redid the floor. It's a little messy now, but that's it. Those are the upgrades to the shop. And my wife's area is not too dirty or cluttered, not like mine. Anyway, let's get on to the Thunderbird. All right, down in the floor of the Thunderbird, front right torque box. And like I said, this was already started in my last video on this series. So what I'm doing there now, and you saw it just a minute ago, I have the plasma cutter set up. I'm going to cut a piece that goes across here. That's the bottom end of the torque box. That's a 14 gauge piece that goes in there. There's a couple of patches need to be put in there. Also, there's a patch in the inner frame rail that has to be done. So I cut it back to good metal, and you can see light through there. I'll get that from the outside. And this has all been rust treated, even though it doesn't look like it, but it's been all rust treated, like a rust converter. Phosphoric acid is what I put on it. So the idea today is to cut that bottom piece, get it so it fits. I want to get a piece cut for there and get it welded in. These support pieces need the bottoms put back on those, and get that all welded in, and then start filling in the toe panel again. This is where your feet would go when you're sitting in the passenger side. So that's the plan. So I have a piece laid out like you saw. So I'm going to cut it out, rough cut, and see how we can patch it in, or get it rough cut in there. And then I want to cut a piece and get that welded in first, because that piece that goes on here, it actually has a 90, comes up and welds to where that piece is rusted, right there. All right, let's get at it. All right, I hope that fan's not going to bother people too much. That vent fan, I like to have it on while I'm doing this. So I got this set up. It's only 14 gauge. I'm going to run it on max anyway, just to blow through it. Running, if you see that or not. Running about 50 amps right there. And I've already drawn it out. Let's get this up out of the way so I don't burn it. Get this stick on this piece. So I'm going to cut a rectangle out and get rid of the remainder. So all I have is just a guide here. Hopefully it works okay. Just a rough cut. That's not cutting super well. Oh well, the metal's not clean by any means, but it's a good cut. A lot of dross on it. But anyway, there it's cut out. Now I'm going to lay out what I need for the piece. Alright, I think I figured what the issue with the plasma cutter. It's mostly it had poor ground, so I gave it a better ground. Let's see if it cuts any better. I ground off some of that old paint. So let's see if it does any better now. So I'm just going to take this corner off. That'll fit down in the car. Again, this is a rough cut. A little better, not perfect, but yeah, it's a better cut for sure. So I think the ground was half the problem. Alright, let me continue fitting this up and see how it looks. And then I'm going to cut a piece for that infill. Alright, so I got this piece rough. So right here, it needs to have a small dip down, like it's like a V-shaped drain hole. Over there, there's a round one for a plug. And I have to still fill that hole in, but I just want to fit this in first and mark it, because there has to be a 90 put on that end. I'll probably just weld it on. This stuff, I don't have anything that will bend it that easy. Up in here, when I was taking the old piece out, I was using the air chisel and I pushed it all back. So that means it's weak. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this piece, tack it in place, or probably Cleco it in place, and cut this out, pull this back a little bit, and then I want to put a strip in along there so it gets up to good metal. That's the plan. And then on this side over here, that's solid, and it goes right up underneath, and it'll have to be a little trimmed off on the fender or the transmission tunnel side. That's all pretty easy to do. Do that after I weld it in. But right here needs to be addressed, so I'm gonna have to cut this back and then put a strip in. Maybe I'll make up an angled piece that kind of lays forward some and then fits down on top of this. As long as it's solid, and then this will never be seen, but I want it to be solid. This is a torque box, and it takes a lot of strain, so I don't want any half done work in there. I want to make it look good. So now I have this kind of roughed in. Oh yeah, and it comes out to here, right to the edge here. So, and this is about pretty much where it comes on this side too. And then this one comes down over top of that, and it comes up as far as there's a little lip there. The top sits there, and then the floor pan goes underneath between the two. This section here will go down in between and come up from underneath. All right, I'll cut a piece up there to fit in that spot, and we'll get it welded in. I've been cutting her back in here, in this area, to good metal. A little bit left in this corner to get out. I'll have to pick away at it and get it out of there. Then I'll build a piece to go in there and weld it on the end of the plate that's going in, the bottom plate, so I can have a continuous flow of it. Whew, there's a lot of dirt in there too. And I opened this up a little more because I found that it was pretty thin up at the front end. So there's no point in trying to weld in a new piece of metal on bad metal. Excuse me. So that's the hole got a little bigger. So it's coming though. It's coming. So getting a little bit of cleanup done before I continue on. Make it look pretty in here again. I'm trying to keep the shop clean. But look at those already, just in that short time. So it's actually doing a pretty good job of pulling the dust up through. Those were brand new filters an hour ago. So I think it's capturing a lot of dust. Even if I have to change the filters once a month, I think it's well worth it. All right, put the red oxide to her. Get ready to weld that side piece in and start fitting the other stuff. I think I'll pound that down, straighten it out before I do it. It'll look better from the bottom once it's done. Not that anybody's going to look at the bottom much. I got the red oxide in as far as I can get it. All right, coming along with it. I've had it in a few times. The first time in, I noticed it was too short. I was aligning it with the wrong notches. There's a set of notches right here in the frame rail that it has to go to. And it's 2.5 inches back from this pillar, on this pillar, to there's where it lines up with. And then I have this welded on, the flange. I just welded those on. So now I'm still short in here by about 2 inches. So I have to weld the piece on that, and then I can start dropping down this one might not need quite, yeah, it's about 2 inches, because this is right there is the bottom. So it'll need about 2 inches, inch and 3/4, all the way to about here. I can just make it, I'll bring it out, even if I go past underneath, because I'm going to bring it out and weld it. I'll weld it off. I think I can get it back in welded. I'm not 100% sure. So anyway, I need a couple inches here. There's the lowest point, and it's about 2 inches. So when this would come along about like this, and then it turns, as you can see, and goes straight out from here. And that won't be quite 2 inches because the floor panel comes in, and this goes straight over. So I have that to weld back on. But this stuff is good and heavy, so you can just do a full, like you can see, I just did a full weld. Well, I spot welded it first just to hold it, and then I went right over. And I did both sides. It's good and strong. And I'm thinking I'm going to try to measure the height here and try to get it to come in underneath that and weld it right in place. But first I need to put spot weld or plug weld holes in the frame rail and up underneath this section, like where it wraps down underneath from the engine firewall, or from the apron rather, it wraps down around, and then this one does as well underneath here. So I may put when I put this piece in, I may put some spot or plug weld holes in it, and I might put the plug weld holes in there and get them from the top, and then I can apply pressure. Well, I'll have to clamp it, I guess. Clamp it in place and see how it goes. But it's coming. And over here is not a problem because I'll weld it inside, and then I'll go out and I'll cut it, because you can probably see it's a little over length, and then I'll cut it off and weld it on the back side here. So she'll be good and strong. Oh yeah, and I need to put some plug weld holes in here as well. That needs to be done. Then I got this in. It's not pretty, but it's in there. All right, I'll continue on. All right, there. I have the plug weld holes drilled out to hit the frame rail here. So that's this section. And then for this piece that drops down from the front side of the torque box, I put 2 rows in here. Just did a pilot hole. I did them on my drill press. This is a 14 gauge, so I just did them on the drill press while I had this off. A little bit off the edge there, but I'm gonna, this frame rail is a little bit pushed in, so I'm gonna push it back out. And now what I'm doing, I'm gonna fill this area on this plate, bottom plate, and then I'll start filling in the top part. Got the side all filled in. Couple of spots right there need to be touched up, but I'll get those. Burnt through there, so it was a little thin, but I think we're in good metal there now. If I have to, I'll cut that right out and put a new piece in. All right, so she's coming along all right, looking pretty good. It's gonna be solid. Getting her slowly. Been fighting with this corner here a little bit, but I'm getting her in. A little bit more has to come off right here, like so. And then I have a piece to put in here. But it's coming. It's sitting down level with the bottom of the frame rail right there now. And I'll have to put some holes here in this one. And then I'll have to put some holes in there for plug welds to join that piece in. But she's looking pretty good. So one more piece to add and clean it all up, get it rust treated because it's a little rusty on the bottom side, primed, and get it welded in. All right, I'm gonna do some pilot holes. I've got a 1/8 bit and I'll chase it through, open it up with a stepper bit. These stepper bits are great for this, except they aren't great for starting a hole. So I find it a lot better to use a pilot bit. So let's get at her. It's kind of a precarious thing. I marked it on the wrong side, but that's okay. We'll get her. Just a few holes. Okay, time to open them up with the stepper bit. Got my rod in there. There we go. Alright, I usually go down 3 steps on this particular bit. Both can come up pretty good. Alright, once you get them opened up, you can go back and just dress up the hole. It's kind of awkward with this piece, but if I had done it before I put the side on, it would be good. So just deburr them a little bit. All right, there they are. They're all in for that piece of it. Now, that original plate had that little V-notch drain, and it also had a plug hole over here. So I'm going to mark off the center of the plug hole and put a pilot in, and I have a larger stepper bit to take out the hole with. You could do it with a hole cutter, but I'm already here. So I'll get set up to do that. Alright, getting set up to put that little V-groove in. So I kind of want it to go sort of like this. I don't think this has to be perfect because I don't think it worked very well from the factory. But I can see, you can see it right there. So what I have is two pieces of heavy steel and clamped together on the table, and I put a slit in it with the grinder, and I'm just using a cold chisel. All I'm trying to do is make a V. Let's see what happens. 14 gauge is heavy duty. But she's going. There, it's a bit of a groove. Tap it in a little bit like that. There, tore it a little bit. If I had a duller chisel, it would have been better. And then I'll just take and weld these wings in here, and I'll weld that piece that tore. And I'll show you underneath here. Just two pieces of steel clamped together. Doesn't have to be fancy. There it is. But now I'm going to weld up that spot that ripped a little bit. You can see where the cold chisel stretched a little bit and cut it. But there it is, a little V-groove. So I'll get that welded up, and it'll be time to prime this sucker. Oh yeah, before I go, I got the hole put in, the drain hole plug. All right, there she is. I'm getting ready to burn it in along the perimeter. I'll do that first before I do the plug welds, so I'll get it fastened in all the way around. A little bit of a gap right here. I'll figure that out. The rest is not too bad, a bit gappy there, but I got some filler rod. But yeah, that's it. We'll get her burned in. Well, there it is, all welded in and primed up. Plug welds are done. I'm not going to grind it. There's no point. This is all hidden away. I ground the underneath part, which would be seen from the underneath. Needs a little piece put in there, but that isn't part of this plate. This is the part of the transmission tunnel. But I'll get that when I do this. Also, because this video is getting long, I decided I would do these two supports. They're just an L, like a 90-degree L, and another 90 here. That's all they are, just to support this plate that goes on here. I'm going to seam seal it. I think I said that. I'm not sure if I didn't. Well, I just did. I'll seam seal all the welded areas. And yeah, so that will make this old Thunderbird a lot stiffer. That torque box was in pretty bad shape. She looks a lot better now. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to call it right there. And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.